In this video, we have got a 120 plus kill game on our Marj Conquest with the M3 grease gun from the medic class. As always, stick around in this video. I'm going to show you in just a moment the specializations of my choice, as well as then going into the pros and cons of the weapon, how to use it in general, and of course what I'm doing specifically in this game. So let's look at the specs. As you can see, my choice is to go all right with quick aim, custom stock, lighten stock, and recoil buffer. So let's explain these more in depth. And just before I do explain, you will see that I do change to the suppressor after this initial clip, because at this very point in the game, Sean, one of my viewers on my live stream who absolutely loves the grease gun, said he'd do a donation if I hit a 100 kill game if I use the suppressor, because I hate it and normally don't use the suppressor. But yeah, so let's talk about the specializations. The first specialization choice is pretty self-explanatory. It's quick aim versus changing to your secondary faster. Both are very useful when you have an aggressive playstyle and you're up close in front of enemies where you might need to change to your secondary if you run out of ammo, which is going to happen most of the time when playing medic and playing aggressively. At the same time, it's equally important to be able to aim in first to win as many gunfights as possible, so you can hit that first bullet on target first. So both are useful, but I'd say over the course of an entire game, quick aim is going to be more important for every single gunfight you go into, whereas you're only going to run out of ammo and need to use your secondary on very few occasions. If you have good positioning and can reload in and out of cover, then the need to change to your secondary is not really needed. The second and third specialization option looks at, as you can see on screen, two hipfire options on the left versus accuracy and lighten stock on the right. Hipfire is not really needed, however you might have seen on the channel previously, and can still search it if not, that I've done a 100 plus kill game using just hipfire with this weapon. It is therefore, in my opinion, the best gun in Battlefield 5 if you were just to go and use hipfire, but its hipfire is still incredibly good even without those specializations. Accuracy on the right for the second specialization, and lighten stock on the third, which can make you move faster while aimed down sights, which can make you a harder target to hit in those close range gunfights. Of course, in close range gunfights, accuracy is at its highest from both players because you haven't got to account for distance and recoil so much. So being able to move faster makes it harder for the enemy to hit you. There's a higher chance they're going to miss bullets, and again, that can increase your chances of staying alive. I feel like that would have been easy. You do have to, of course, think about as well, your accuracy is going to potentially drop a little bit if you're moving faster as well. But in all, the right two options for options 2 and 3 is the way to go for me. Now the fourth specialization choice is going to be the most controversial one, like the M1 Garand from the last video, whereby in this case you have a suppressor or you have another accuracy option in the form of lower vertical recoil. From my time playing, I can clearly see that the preference for most people is to go for the suppressor, maybe because it's unique and no other weapons have a suppressor you can put on as a specialization. And of course it does hide hit markers from enemies when they are hit, which can of course on those flanks stop enemies from turning around and shooting back at you, making it easier to get kills in such cases. I'm not a massive advocate for going on flanks because there's always that one enemy sat in a corner that you run past, or enemies generally which will always spawn behind you when you're going on flanks. So you can see very nice clips of people getting insane flanks, but in reality it's very rare that you always, every time get a really good flank. In the majority of the time, you're going to die over and over and over again till you get that one good flank. When looking at the other option, which is having no suppressor, which is my preferred choice, there's something very distinct about it, which makes it feel a lot better for me, and I'll explain that now. Although it may not be shown statistically, there is a definite feel, and maybe you can see it in the first clip of this game, where I had a nice kill streak without the suppressor, and just before I changed to using the suppressor, the bullet velocity does feel faster, and as a result, hit registration feels much cleaner as well. When you press the trigger to shoot the gun, it feels like the hit marker hits almost instantly. Whereas when you're using the suppressor, it feels like you can miss a lot of bullets, or that you're not hitting the target as fast. That's one key benefit I sort of feel and find when not using the suppressor. And secondly, of course, you do have that fourth specialization on the right, which does increase your accuracy even further, which makes it feel, which makes the recoil a lot less, making it much more accurate for you to be able to, one, hold down the trigger, to be able to fire consistently and fast, as well as to be able to fire more consistently in semi-auto or tap fire at those targets that are medium to long range, going for easier headshots on people that are in windows or standing behind cover, which is a very big and important part of my game, being able to be good at long range. And so accuracy, wherever I can take it, is absolutely key. And the final sort of key point of not using a suppressor, and what might be considered a disadvantage to a lot of people watching this video, of the gun being loud, and the reason why they therefore use a suppressor to make the gun quieter, for me, is a massive advantage. I want the gun to be loud. I want enemies to hear, where the enemy is, where I'm shooting from, and to start running in my direction. There is a chance, of course, that I will, that I'm going to be facing more enemies. I'm more likely to die, but providing you can stay alive and win those gunfights, your chances of getting a lot more kills are going to be increased, because enemies are going to come to you and you're not going to have to run around, potentially get caught out with your gun down while running, as well as, of course, wasting time running around trying to find enemies. Having a suppressor off will mean more enemies will, hear you, come to you, and you can do more shooting at enemies, catching them out while they're running with their gun down, than you doing what they're doing, effectively. So, moving on to the advantages and disadvantages of the weapon. The main disadvantage is going to be its fire rate. It does have a slow fire rate, whereby in close range gunfights, if you do miss 1 or 2 bullets, when you come up against those, high mag size, fast fire rate weapons like a Tommy gun, a Sumi, a Type 2A, or even shotguns which can one-shot you, you miss 2 bullets, a shotgun's going to get a second shot off, and the majority of the time, a shotgun player with 2 rounds is going to hit one of them and is going to kill you. So you need to make sure you're accurate. Well, you've got to make, practice and be as accurate as you can when using this, because 1 or 2 missed bullets is, an opportunity for the enemy to hit and shoot another 5 or 10 bullets, for every 2 or 3 bullets you shoot with this gun and its low fire rate. Other disadvantages, although smaller, include it doesn't have a semi-automatic option. Of course, you can just tap fire it with your finger. It has got a low fire rate, so you haven't got much worry about accidentally shooting off multiple bullets. But there is no semi-auto option, which is often more accurate than just using tap fire with your finger. And I guess, lastly, you've also got the disadvantage of bullet velocity over those longer ranges, so it can be quite hard to track moving targets at distance, as well as just be good generally at long range with it. But again, that's probably one of the lower, smaller disadvantages, because it is a SMG that you're supposed to be using in those close to medium ranges. And of course, looking at the advantages, you have the suppressor, which removes the hit marker icon from enemies when you shoot at them, so they're less likely to turn around. The iron sight is pretty clean, so if you are a type of person who likes to use iron sights, it is very usable on this gun. The reload time for tactical and full mag reloads is very, it's fast. It's good enough, as you can see there. And overall, it's got a high damage per bullet, which makes it seem like it kills just as quick and just as fast as the other high meta TTK weapons in the game, like the ZK, the Tommy, the Type 2A, etc. Of course, make sure you think about as well the low fire rate. So although it's hitting high damage per bullet, you've got to make sure you're accurate to be able to capitalize on that high damage per bullet. Moving on to this game in particular, what am I doing to be able to get this 120 plus kill game? Where am I moving around the map? In terms of power positions, there's a mini power position which I talk about as being where I am now, which is cutting off the routes in between C flag, B flag and D flag. Generally, this is a good place to be if you've got a medium to long range weapon. Of course, using the grease gun is a bit far to shoot over towards B accurately and win gunfights, but that is a mini power position there which you want to be using. And as you can see here, when you are using close range weapons, I would advise you to stay on the left side of the map as if you're running towards the German spawn here, because there's a lot of different objects you can use as cover, which again allows you to be able to get in close range of enemies to be effective with your weapon. If you go down to the right side of the map here, out towards the desert, then you are going to encounter more enemies using long range weapons, you know, semi-auto sniper rifles, bolt action sniper rifles, semi-automatic assault rifles, etc., which you will lose gunfights to and get caught out while you're running out in the open to try and get to that next piece of cover, because the cover down on that side of the map is a lot more spaced out, and of course it's a lot more open. So as you can see, sticking to the close range areas of the map. And lastly, in terms of the main big power position or area which you want to be on this map, is going to be this house right here, smack bang in the center of the map. As I've always said before, everyone in the game, or rather all the flags, are pretty much spread out around this house. So all the enemies have got to travel through this house, around the sides of the house to be able to get to where they want to go on the map. So as long as you're in this general area, you're always going to be able to find enemies and get kills and cut the flow of enemies off as they're going to capture or defend the flags. I have got a video on the 5 key power positions to be using on our Marj, which you can search, and I will stick in the top comment below. So do check that out if you want a more sort of in-depth of the 5 key areas that you need to be sticking around when playing this map to be able to always do well. But I will leave you with, I guess, my live commentary that was on the remainder of this video as of when I do speak. But yeah, that's this week's video, and we'll see you next week for a non-100 kill game video, where we'll look at the best skill in Battlefield 5 that you should be working on and improving, and is a skill which is important in any FPS game. So still relevant and still very important even in this very late stage, pretty much 7 years into Battlefield 5. Please smash a like for me, and I'll see you on the next video.
Useless. I can't remember me calling it useless at 100 on our Marj, which is one of the hardest things you can. We have control of objective Baker. Let me jump. See how we go. Timing on that.
You owe me one!
Tried another smoke. How the fucking hell have I done that with freezing cold hands?